Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K with the Canon 16 to 35 millimeter Viltrox mount adapter EF-M2 0.71. It doesn't have autofocus at all on any of the lenses I've tested, but it does do stabilization and the iris. This is the SmallRig cage with the SmallRig. This is the hard drive mount. I have the Samsung T5, the 2 terabyte model there. And then it has a clamp for the cable, so the cable can't be pulled out. And then down here I have another clamp that can clamp onto the USB cable and the HDMI cable you can clamp onto. And then because of the cheese plate on the bottom, you have all the multiple screws. It makes it so you can offset the camera. So I have the camera, let me turn it off and then pull off the plate. Okay, so the camera is mounted here, and then this plate is just mounted to another one of the available screws on this. This on my gimbal is just a counterweight that I use for certain zoom lenses. Change length when I zoom, and I use this to offset the weight while I'm zooming. One of the SmallRig adapters I got is this adapter mount, which makes it so whichever EF lens mount adapter you're using, you can attach the lens mount adapter, screw it directly to the rig, which is really good because it makes it secure, except this is a knockoff adapter. This is under $300. Sometimes you can't change the aperture unless you disconnect. You have to disconnect the contacts and then reconnect it, and I found that when I had this adapter support attached, I couldn't do that. So this lens, I had to disconnect the mount in order to get the lens to work. So I ended up removing this mount. If I end up upgrading to the Metabones, I'm sure I won't have that problem, and then I can use the mount again. This is the Crane 2, Zhiyun Crane 2 gimbal. And then I have a dual handle mount that I disconnect one of the handles because I use the main gimbal as my left handle, so that way I can use the follow focus. I don't have the motor hooked up yet, but when it comes, because I've never needed it before until this camera. So when that comes, I'll get that hooked up with this. But for now, I just use a dual handle like that. Also, I have noticed that I have to remove this hard drive all the time to go to my computer. I can leave the cable because I have another USB-C cable, but I do have to disconnect the hard drive and pull it out of this each time. It does seem to be getting easier and easier as I do it. Are you just practicing?
Giving you all your intro B-roll.
Alright, this is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. This is the cage from SmallRig. This is going to be good because it's going to make it so I can offset the camera on my gimbal. So I'll be able to screw the camera into this mounting point and then shift it over and then use one of these points for the gimbal to lock in. And then it comes with the Allen wrench right here. Get these other sizes. Okay, let's try it. Okay, I can see the curvature of this clamp right up in this corner. Seems a little too tight. When I stick this in here, you can see that these edges right here end up scratching my case. It's a really, really tight fit, but you can get it in there. I loosen this up right here so you can pull up the top. Try to get in. It might scuff up the edge, but you're probably only going to put this in there one time. It makes me, I mean, it's definitely hard to put in and out, so it makes me wonder if remove it and put it on your computer multiple times if you would need to somehow loosen this up, because this was pretty tough to get in there. And then I think this has to do with some cables. And this is for like this lens support here. So first let me tighten down the camera and make sure it's all tight. You know, one thing I was hoping is that with the cage, anywhere I set it down it wouldn't touch the camera, but as you can see this part sticks out so it protects the camera, but then there's nothing over here. And as a result of that, if you lay this down, it's actually touching the camera. See how it's actually touching? That's the screen. See, then that's the metal bar over there. So right there, it's actually touching the screen. I almost wish that this piece of metal extended out just a little bit so it didn't hit that. See, it's hitting right here. But there's so many different screws, you could always build something that just sticks out. I just wish it was built in. Let's attach the hard drive now. 2 screws, and those go right here. Then you reinsert your hard drive, and it's gonna cover all this. I don't know what this compartment is for right here. Looks like SmallRig makes some type of clip that's maybe like a removable clip. I don't know what that is. Interesting to find out though. So stick your hard drive back in afterwards. Okay. Now you can tighten that one down, holds the hard drive. These screws over here, they're the kind that can swivel and change. So if it's in the way, like this one was in the way, I couldn't tighten it, you can lift these screws and move them after they're tightened. Okay, so now we're gonna take our drive, our cable, stick it in, and it looks like this clamp is gonna tighten around the rubber of the cable. Yep, it did. Nice. Then we can move these back so they're both straight. Okay. 18 inches long, this cable that came with the Samsung T5. This is the 2 terabyte drive. We got it for, I think, $397 off Amazon. I'll have a link down in the description for that. The SmallRig stuff, I forget where I ordered it, but I remember reading that they didn't have them made yet, so that's why I had to wait a little bit to order mine. Okay, they also, there's also this cable tie here. Alright, so after the hard drive is hooked up, this front clamp right here, which is separate from this clamp pinches this bar around the rubber around your USB cable, so that way it prevents it from pulling out. And then this clamp just tightens in the hard drive, but that's already a super tight fit, so that didn't really need to be tightened all that much. Okay, and then the cable comes down. I stuck it back here so I could like kind of coil it up, kind of try to tuck away some of the wire. I'll probably use this strap to maybe coil some of it. I ordered a couple more shorter USB cables online if I hopefully can find a short one. And this is the cable lock. It looks like it's meant for the USB and for HDMI. So it screws into these side holes, and then these are adjustable, so when you loosen this up, this whole thing kind of moves. So like wherever the cable is, it kind of lines up. You can either make it tight or loose or whatever. So that's kind of nice. Okay, now once I added the hard drive, I did notice that now if I lay it down, it hits the hard drive first. So we're hitting that edge of the hard drive, and it looks like we're hitting this. Okay. So we're hitting this tiny piece right here. We're hitting this edge of the hard drive, and then we're hitting, I think it's either this side of the screen or this side of the screen. £3, 7.5 ounces for this, without at least this lens. 3.2 ounces. Now I'm gonna try to see if I can balance this on different gimbals.